What's up, everybody? March 14th edition of the Fightful MMA podcast. Yours truly, Showdown Joe, at Showdown Joe on social media. Joe Ferraro as your host here, back from a vacation with the family. Pleasure to be joined by the one and only Elias Theodorou, UFC middleweight. Make sure you do follow him online at Elias Theodorou. Elias, what's going on, my man?
Thank you, brother. Doing fantastic. I am, for all those that are wondering, in Toronto. So I'm local, one might say, but only for the day or two because I'm actually flying out tomorrow to Calgary for to reprise my commentary roles as Hard Knocks commentator.
Nice. Did you miss me?
I miss you all the time. But yes, no, glad to have you back and glad to be in the swing of things with you, my man.
I'm completely, well, I'm not sunburned as much anymore, but I'm going through that, I guess you could say that cover yourself up with cream as much as you can stage because I'm peeling left, right, and center. I don't have that skin like my significant other and my son, thankfully, who caught a beautiful tan swimming nonstop while we were down there. But yeah, this guy burns. I think I'm the only Italian on the or of Italian descent on the face of this planet that burns. But I feel good. Like missed my MMA stuff, missed all the crazy stuff that went down, especially with what went down in Brazil. Lots to talk about from that card there. Did you have a chance to watch it?
Yes, sir. Of course.
Well, we saw the main event. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, it kind of flew under the radar. I was hoping to catch it while I was down in the Mayan Riviera, but they weren't showing this one. I'm sure if it was a pay-per-view. What they were showing a lot of, and we'll talk about a little bit later on, I was sitting in my room, and you've got about 35, 40 channels to watch television, and about 8 or 9 of them were in English. And there was ESPN, but there was an ESPN in Spanish, and my goodness, what do I see pop up on the screen? But Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I do want to focus on this Brazil card. In the main event, Vitor Belfort takes on Kelvin Gastelum, and a minute or 1 round, 3 minutes 52 seconds. Belfort looked okay, and then Kelvin just said, "No, we're done. It's time to change things up here." Landed those crisp jabs, and then next thing you know, it was lights out for Vitor Belfort.
Yep, 100% agree. Both in the sense of Conor McGregor and Floyd sucking up all the oxygen, and then obviously with the fight that you just mentioned, it showed a real change into the guard. Kelvin looks amazing at 185 pounds, and he defeated a gatekeeper in the middleweight division.
So 2 things I want to ask you about Vitor Belfort. You mentioned he's a gatekeeper. Number one, before the bout, he mentioned something that we've been talking about here for a long time at Fightful MMA is the fact that, I'm personally tired of the way some of the matchmaking goes down, and it peaked when BJ Penn took on Yair Rodriguez. And I said, there comes a time when guys were at the top and, their careers are winding down. They still have some fight left in them, but enough's enough. Let's make this matchmaking more fair. And Belfort came out with an idea called the League of Legends. Now it's getting some play. Some people are hating it. Some people are okay with it. Some people want to see it. In essence, shorter rounds, bigger gloves, no elbows, no knees, and a bit longer time frame, maybe a minute and a half in between rounds. Do you like this idea for the fighters? Quote unquote aging fighters.
Yeah, no, totally. The idea of a master division, it makes total sense. But let's not take away from what the elephant in the room is. He's a deflated 50-year-old surfer without his Mexican supplements. There's a league out in Japan where he could be brand new. So if it's a case of, all the respect to the Vitor, he's a champion and he's definitely a part of that. Even he's the kind of fighter who has reinvented himself many times over. One might say for particular reasons that we're helping, but I nothing but respect. I understand what he's trying to say. He doesn't want to stop fighting, but there's no way he can necessarily compete with someone like Kelvin, who's on the upswing, who's new and young, and replacing him. He's a little bit slower than he used to be, well, a lot. And again, this is coming from a person that TRT Tour is my favorite fighter ever. So, yeah. TRT Tour.
He did now. He mentioned that after this fight here, he's going to have one more fight left in the UFC before he retires. And I thought to myself, I wonder if Elias would entertain that option. Is that someone that you would consider competing against, or do you still have your mind on the fact that maybe it is Dan Kelly or Rashad Evans you'd like to take on next?
No, all three of the above. Why not? Why definitely not? Even again, it's the issue of, are you fighting a legend? Is he now 0-2? or is he 0-3 in the last little? How many losses has he had? So that's where the weird thing happens. But those guys are definitely three people I would all like to fight.
Yeah, Vitor is 0-3. His last win was against Dan Henderson in 2015. He subsequently lost to Jacare Gegard Musashi and now Kelvin Gastelum. I personally, I like the matchup with you and Vitor only because it's you add a legend to your resume if you defeat him. He's always dangerous. I mean, he's a southpaw. He's still very, very explosive. But I believe his chin is not the same as it was a while ago. It's like the Chuck Liddell syndrome from a while ago. The chin is going to go. The speed's there, the power's there. The body just can't take enough. And, if Kelvin can take him out, I'm wondering if Elias Theodorou can also do the same.
Yeah. True. Yes. And we were talking about the body again. The body's not there. Why? But no, all respect's due. Him and Rashad, who's also on a 2-fight skid. They are former champions. They are people that I respect. They are people that brought me into this sport as both fan and as a fighter. So it'd be an honor to fight either one of them. On the opposite side, you have someone like Dan Kelly, who is on a 4-fight win streak, and that doesn't happen often in the middleweight division. So those are three guys I would love to fight. And then from there, you have to start taking a look at who's free and who's also, if not on the top 10, very close in the sense of, top 15 or whatever.
I'm liking that red. Is that a couch behind you? Or is that a pillow?
It is a couch.
It's pretty dapper, Elias. I like it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so is the shark painting that matches.
Oh, it does. Yeah, good call. Good call. Did you paint it?
Right there.
Paint that, be honest.
No, it's not my place.
Well, that's right. You're at a friend's house. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Hey, I wanted to ask you because you mentioned you're going to do your color commentary. We'll get to the co-main event from the Brazil show in a moment. I think before I left, or while I was down in Mexico, obviously I follow your Instagram. Did you go to Disneyland? Oh, I think Elias's microphone he may have muted himself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Can you hear me? Cool. Yes, I did. I went to Disneyland with the girlfriend. And what do you... Sorry.
Oh, we may have lost Elias again. I think he's
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Cool. Yeah. No. So basically, I went to Disneyland as part of 1 second.
Yep, no worries. Yeah, the video's gone for a moment. The audio's coming in. Welcome to modern technology, ladies and gentlemen. This happens. But I did notice Elias over on the on his Instagram with the missus, and I just wanted to make sure that while he was over at Disneyland, he didn't get arrested because he loves to have fun out there. If anyone's ever been to Disneyland or Disney World, I'd like to know. Hit me up at Showdown Joe because it's somewhere I want to take the family. I have a vision board to my left, and I actually have a big, huge. I've got that Disney cruise ship. People say vision boards are for you, but vision board for my family as well. I love to take my family on the Disney cruise. But Elias, having gone to Disneyland, I need some tips. I want to know what's up.
Well, so basically, Disneyland is obviously the happiest place on earth. There's not much alcohol, which kind of takes away from that, but it's neither here nor there. So the key is to basically, no, I'm kidding. I had a blast walking around Disneyland with the girlfriend on, I think it was the Monday. It was a beautiful day. Started talking to my fellow beige Disney characters and had some fun with it. I didn't get arrested, like you said, because, I'm,
There's no alcohol.
Tarzan. Yes, exactly. And Tarzan here is very, very persuasive. So, although the last time I was there, I did almost get kicked out. Not really kicked out, just they told me to leave the situation because there's a marching band at some point. And I basically had my extra large drink and started playing it as a flute. And hope no one photoshops this. But basically, it's a fun time. Mustang. When I was down there, had the convertible. Just drove around Hollywood. We're doing different meetings with the top down low and sun in our eyes.
When you hit Hollywood, and I know I'm asking this question because of my own experience when I travel around the world. There are some cities that I'm kind of like, nah, and then there's some locales and cities where I'm like, this is me. I could do this. I could live here. when you see Hollywood and all the stuff around there, is that something you could do, or is it you're just like, nah, it's just I'm here for a bit, gone now?
No, 100%. It's like 25 degrees in the first week of March, and there's literally a bunch of different opportunities, especially in my case, I guess, possibly the idea to play pretend for a lot of money. So, yeah, so, fuck, I love money. Everyone loves money. So let's go do that. And also the sun, more importantly. And specifically with California, there's almost something tangible in the air. You can't quite taste it. You can't quite feel it, but there's something in the air that kind of is an interesting thing. And of course, a lot of it has to do with me running around, trying to quote unquote make it in any different sphere that I am. So there's definitely a romanticization of just the chase, the hustle. And it was a very amazing, what do you call it, visit to LA, both for the fun that I had with my girlfriend, but also the different projects I'm working on.
Good. That's awesome. We'll get to your projects perhaps later on or another time here. You said there's something in the air. Well, there's something in the air in Brazil from Maurício Shogun Rua, who put on, I wouldn't say a masterful performance, but a damn good showing against John Vellante. I was definitely impressed with his patience and is just waiting and waiting until the opportunity came to finish him off in the third round. I was impressed with Shogun. What about yourself?
No, definitely impressed. But masterful might not be the word. It more be a very true Shogun-esque. It's very prideful. You know what I mean? It's a very pride performance, pride-like performance in the sense that, and that's what Shogun does. He for the last, almost let's say 3-4 years, he's won 2, lost 1, won 1, lost 2. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm not taking anything away from him. It's a huge fight against someone who's on the upswing, John Vellante. A tough SOB. I've trained with him down in New York. I know his desire to win and his desire as an athlete to push himself forward. And it's a huge opportunity for Shogun, again, who is like dad bod central. Like he's in many ways not necessarily the picturesque of a professional athlete. And you have even someone like John Vellante, who is not ginormous, not completely vascular and muscular, overly muscular, but he is an athlete who's been wrestling for X amount of years. Blah 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 blah. I think Showdown showed that what's it called? He's got enough more fight in him. He always has more fight in him. But I think the overall question would definitely be: is he too tough for his own good still?
I think it's just funny that I don't think you realize it. You called him Showdown, and I want to say that so many people have called me Shogun Joe, Showtime Joe, Showdown Joe. I'm like, just call me Joe, man. I understand the Showdown Joe brand and moniker, but yeah, no, I've been called Shogun Joe more times than you can. If I had $1 for every time I got called Shogun Joe or Showtime Joe, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I'd probably be living somewhere in Hollywood.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Edson Barbosa. I think John Anik's call was perfect when he said another highlight for the reel, I think was the actual quote, but the way he yelled it and screamed, it was fantastic. Edson Barbosa, flying knee to Beneil Dariush. I mean, this kid is fantastic. Doesn't win them all, but when he wins, my goodness, does he put on a show.
Yep. And especially he's doing what he needs to do. Put himself forward a little bit. Like you said, he doesn't win them all. He's definitely a top 10 always, especially while he's in his prime like this. Whether it's up to the 5th, up to the 3rd, you know what I mean? And then losing someone like Frankie or something like that. Like, well, we wouldn't fight Frankie because I think they're training partners.
Yeah, they're training partners.
But, exactly. So, but you know what I mean? Like someone like that, where it's like, he'd win a bunch, and then he would lose to someone like Tony Ferguson, who's at the cream of the crop right now. I think he can definitely stand with the top 5 in the 155 division. Amazing finish. Just a thought. Like, I don't want to be rude about it, but like they're both Dariush and him are very religious. But it's very interesting to see like one who knocks someone out, thanks God, and then the other one who gets knocked out, thanks God. It's just confusing. It's just my observation.
You know me well enough. I'm not following up with that.
But no, but again,
You're right.
it's just
No,
a thought
I
process.
hear
It's just a
exactly
thought
what you're
process.
saying.
Just
You know
confusing.
what, you're bang on, and I completely understand. Listen, to each their own. I totally get it.
Exactly.
I
I 100%. I'm being respectful as I can. And it's just interesting. Like I don't know. Just a thought bubble.
love it. I know. No, I
Great
absolutely love
talk.
it. Also on the
Especially
card, by
like
the
right
way.
after the fact, right? Like right after the fact, like knockout. Thank you, Jesus. The other one, thank you, God, for giving me the strength to move forward. And both of them, it's true so much to the core, and you got to respect the idea of, you know, a desire of a higher power, especially if you are doing it for a just cause, whether it's charity, and not saying that any of them don't do that already. It's just interesting, the idea of combat sports for you know
Yeah, no, listen,
visible Superman.
whether it's God, Allah, Yahweh, the universe, whatever divine being, Buddha.
Yahweh. There's the original one. There you go.
Yeah,
The original
to
OG.
me, it's as long as you live a good life, as long as you're a good person.
Yep.
Thumbs up from this guy here.
Stop.
Thumbs
Same
up from
with
Ray Borg,
stop,
by the
brother.
way. What's that?
Boom. Well played. Well played, sir.
There you go. Not my first rodeo when it comes to that topic.
No.
Ray Borg defeats Juicia Formiga, for those that want to use the J, in a fashion where it was like people thought Ray Borg had no shot in this fight, and now he goes and defeats a top contender, but it's a division that's owned by Mighty Mouse. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, the only person that's going to beat Mighty Mouse, in my opinion, is Father Time. So I don't know what Ray Borg is going to try and do and get a title shot, but I mean, this is a division owned by one man.
No, it's very true. And they have, like, again, who's Mighty Mouse fighting? What's his face,
Wilson
right? Like, who
Heiss.
was on the undercard? Yeah, who I know of him. What's it called? No offense to him. It's just unfortunate that fighters don't, not fighters, fans don't really give credit where credit's due, because they want to see 500 pounds of man just collide into each other. But with that being said, it allows Mighty Mouse, and he's had an interesting conversation, I think, on the MMA Hour recently. I think it was there. We're basically talking about the idea of drama and some of that, that Catch Me Outside girl, where because of all the followers that she has, she started fighting to be one of the top pay-per-view fights of all time, which again talks about the bigger issue of what competition in general is and what the kind of desire it's feeding. It's feeding our natural competition. It's feeding our tribalism. It's feeding our ability to compete with each other without going to war. But the point being with Borg, as we saw in Star Trek, we can rebuild him and make him better.
Resistance is futile.
Futile.
Yeah, I was a Trekkie. I still enjoy it every so often. New generation, or next generation, excuse me. Marion Renault takes on Betch Correa in a majority decision. I didn't, not that I didn't care for that fight. I was like, all right, next. Alex Oliveira taking on Tim Means in that rematch. Oliveira pulls off that submission. I don't know if, Tim Means was caught. Let's be honest, he was caught, but he wasn't fighting it much. I thought he would give it a bit more of a fight, but good on Cowboy for winning this fight in his home country.
Yep, very much the case, especially with Tim going into that fight, kind of saying, taking the knee, kind of like implying that he chickened out, or he didn't fight it out, where he definitely fought it out and won.
I want to ask you a question before I tackle two fights here that happen, or maybe three fights that happen here on the prelims. Have you ever gone surfing?
Yeah. Yep. I used to be a semi-pro skateboarder, so anything on a board. Anything on a board I can do.
All right, so I'm an idiot. Have you ever done the surf simulator?
Yep.
Yep.
Of course.
Have you ever gotten whiplash and a concussion doing a surf simulator like yours truly did about 4 days ago?
No, I have not, Joe.
So you saw
okay.
You saw the picture of my Instagram with the instructor. Okay, Joe, you got to come to the center. Right before that. So what I did is I captured it from a video. What I might want to do is take all the videos of my epic wipeouts and put them all together and kind of do like a collage. Yep. The third wipeout, or the third time I went on there, I wiped out so hard. I had to show it to my chiropractor yesterday, and he just looked at it, and he just looked at me, and he started laughing. He's like, "You do realize that this was your second injury in a row 2 vacations in a row. And I completely forgot that the year before, 2 years before, my son was extremely ill in St. Lucia, to the point where we almost had to fly him to Barbados because his fever was so high. We broke the fever. Everything was fine. The 5th day of the 7-day vacation, he was fine in the water. He was much younger. He was maybe 3 or 4 at the time. And he just wanted daddy to play Superman in the water. Superman basically means you just dive and you just float in the water. To him, that was the greatest thing ever. Well, there was a wave in the pool that brings you to one side of the pool. Didn't pay attention. So I did Superman, and I was like, you know what, I just want to just dive all the way through. Didn't realize how close I was to the wall. Smacked the wall with my skull. Hurt my neck. So I hurt my neck, cut my head open, hurt my neck. I was in rehab as soon as we landed back in Toronto. And then this trip here, I'm surfing. I catch a pretty big fall. 3rd time I was on the board, to the point where my legs went underneath me and I smacked the back of my head. It was whiplash. It was basically whiplash. And as it whiplashed, all the water rushed and I got lifted up and carried to the top. 10 minutes into a 1-hour lesson. You think I'm paying that kind of money and not finishing off that lesson? I'm finishing off that lesson. You know, my dad didn't raise a bitch, if you know what I'm saying, or I shouldn't have said that, but, you know, my dad didn't raise a soft guy. I start doing that. The 7th time I'm on there, Elias, I take a massive flip. The water this time lifts me in the air to the back wall, where bang, I smack my head, instant headache, minor concussion, still have 25 minutes to go. And I get on there, I start doing it. And they're like the Mexicans are like, dude, who are you? Like, you're crazy. Like, this is nuts. By the end of it, they were like,
Holmes.
Yeah, loco. You're on your own. You know what you're doing. By the end of it, I was by myself. I was surfing by myself. I'm like, I could have did this for an hour as opposed to 10 minutes of doing this by myself. But I just want to know if you ever, I mean, in terms of surfing, if you rode a skateboard, I'm sure you've had some epic falls.
Oh yeah, no, I broke my hand, 2 breaks, 4 fractures, doing a what's called a handrail, and basically, yeah, same idea. I was doing like kind of like a spotlight for an old defunct, what do you call it, local magazine, and then first try, fell, slipped, broke my hand. Didn't want to look like a punk, so I ended up kept on doing it, landed it. Didn't actually go to the doctors for like 6 months because I was like, no, that's fine. So it healed, broken. They had to smash it open again. So yeah. But the interesting thing we're talking about, so snowboard, surfing, skateboarding, they're a different direction in regards to you're going parallel with the board. Paddle boarding, you actually go perpendicular, and it doesn't make any sense to me because my whole life I've been going, you know, with the surfboard, where this you kind of stand in the middle. So I can't do a paddle board for the life of me. And I think it wasn't last time, the time before that, but one time in LA, I was actually on the paddleboard trying to like work, like figure it out. And like my coach Lachlan and my friend Kuro, they were just laughing at me because I couldn't, like literally 10 seconds on, I'm like, boom, and I fall. I fell like 100 times over the course. By the end of the night, I couldn't get it because it doesn't make any sense to me. It's the opposite direction. But the funny thing in regards to the story is the whole time they were filming La La Land, right? It was right at the pier of like some scene. So I'm falling and just fucking Ryan Gosling just laughing at this fucking long-haired idiot kid. So I actually saw Ryan Gosling. So he watching me just fall. And I'm like, shut up, fellow Canadian. Yeah, so I embarrassed myself in front of Ryan Gosling, but he doesn't know. He doesn't care.
He knows who you are now. If he's a UFC fan, he knows who you are now. I'll tell you one thing, though. Snowboarding and yours truly do not get along because 5 years ago, I attempted to snowboard for the first time. I'm not a skier. I can't ski if my life depended on it. I got great skiing stories for you. But I tried to snowboard, and 4 straight times, same spot, same part of the mountain, up in the air, just falling nonstop. They came down with the, what do you call it, the emergency skidoo. Yeah, the 4th time. I looked at the guy. I said, if you even come near me with that thing, all my friends are down there. And the guy's like, are you Showdown Joe? I'm like, you have to get the hell away from me. Do not.
No, it's Shogun Joe.
Shogun Joe. I'm like, do not come near me. And I halfway down the mountain with the board and the boots, I walked all the way down. And to this day, it's been 5 years, 5 or 6 years, I think. I still have a bruised tailbone, a damaged tailbone, to the point where I'm on flights, anything more than 2 or 3 hours, I got to stand up, walk around and just kind of like, I'm that loser that has that I bring it with me. I never use it, but it's that donut. You gotta blow it up when you're on the plane so you can sit on it like a loser. I'm like, no, I'm not pulling this thing out. But yeah, all I do is I get injured, man. I just want to have fun. I just want to have fun without getting injured. Is that wrong, or like I don't understand?
Girls just want to have fun. You're a modern day Cyndi Lauper.
I am. I'm a modern day Canadian Cyndi Lauper. All right, real quick, Michel Prazeres takes out Josh Berkman. I mean, I've said it before. I think Josh Berkman, he says he's not going to, but I think Josh needs to hang up the gloves, in my opinion.
I can understand it. But again, it becomes this issue of when you tell someone it's their time to finish, especially when you talk about the financial aspect. But I hear you totally. He's not won a fight, what, in three, 4 fights? Like, how many is this with him? Or he's like, 1 out of 4?
1 out of 6. 1 out of 5. 1 for 5, and he has a no contest against Hector Lombard because Lombard tested positive for anabolic steroids.
I wish him nothing but the best. So whether it's after this one or sometime soon, if you can't get a couple of wins under his belt, your point, it's definitely the point being there. No one wants to get hit in the head forever, but if you don't have money, it's kind of hard to hang him up.
Yeah, and for I've met Josh before, just a wonderful guy. But for his health, I just think that I think enough's enough. I think you should hang it up. I do want to talk about very quickly the opening bout of the UFC Fight Pass prelims. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see Paulo Henrique Costa make his UFC debuts at middleweight, and holy smokes, 77 seconds. He TKOs Gareth McLennan in vicious fashion. Like Gareth didn't have a chance to commence the fight. And Paulo went in there and did an absolute, just fantastic performance. Did you have a chance to watch that fight?
I can't remember. I know Zach or Gareth, right? His name's Gareth, right?
Yep.
Yep. I know him. I can't remember if I saw it or a highlight of it or I tweeted it. I'm basically in the Matrix. I don't remember now at this point. I can't remember what point I jumped in. I think I may have seen a highlight. But no, go on. You said it finished in 70 seconds. It probably does look amazing, but Gareth has been knocked out before. So chin is suspect there. I'm not taking anything away from him. But I'm actually, thank you for bringing it up to my attention, and I will check it again because, like you said, it's my weight class.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I did bring it up. Give it a shot. Take a look because the kid looks pretty good. And obviously, like you said, but you got to take into consideration who his opponent was and his record as well, and his backup as well. Okay, a few things happened while I was gone. Some spectacular fights announced for UFC 211 in Dallas, and my goodness, would I love to go to Dallas again. Frankie Edgar taking on Yair Rodriguez. Eddie Alvarez taking on Dustin Poirier. Henry Cejudo taking on Sergio Pettis. Holy smokes, 3 badass fights.
No, I didn't. I can't. Again, it's the case of I didn't even hear the Eddie Alvarez versus
Dustin Poirier.
Dustin Poirier. That's an awesome fight. It's an awesome fight.
Good fight for Eddie Alvarez coming off his, since he came off that loss to Conor McGregor.
I definitely think it's a good fight. Obviously, he's a scrappy guy, but so is Eddie. It puts him somewhat still in the mix. Wouldn't have been better if, like the rumor said, Eddie Alvarez versus Nate Diaz. Who knows? But I think with Eddie, it's that weird thing. I think he's smaller in the weight class. So just confused. It's an interesting fight and it's an exciting fight, and all the other ones are exciting too. The Eddie, the Edgar versus Yair is a really interesting fight, especially because of the distance between them and the rankings. But it shows, he beat a gatekeeper, which would be BJ Penn. But obviously, Edgar is not actually a gatekeeper. I think he's always still in the mix. At least still is at this point. So this is going to be a huge test for him.
I think it's a huge test for both. Because Frankie Edgar, he's up there. He's up there at 145. He's still considered a top contender. But Yair Rodriguez is a massively huge prospect in this division, and this could really shake up this division in dramatic fashion, because if Yair wins this fight, he's up there. He's a top contender at 145 pounds, whereas if Frankie Edgar stops him, I don't know exactly what it does for his stock, because it's your job technically to stop a guy who's lower than you in the rankings.
7 lower than you, I think. I think he's number 2. So, and then Yair's 9th, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, 100%. I think it does add a little bit more pressure on Edgar's shoulders, because you expect him to win it, and you expect Rodriguez to lose. So if he doesn't lose in a horrible fashion, you're like, well, you know what, A for effort. Obviously not there yet, so there's only where up to go, like, from there, right? Whereas if Edgar loses, it's like, whoa, we got a game changer, and especially in a spectacular fashion like AR can.
Tony Ferguson is really pissed off at the UFC right now because he was promised his show money. And I think there may have been some miscommunication, because the UFC did give him what they thought, or what they believe is his show money. And Tony Ferguson saying, no, they owe me a lot more based on my renegotiation for the fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov. So apparently there's some sort of discord here, some miscommunication, because Tony Ferguson is not happy with the UFC, and he's like, "Why do I need to do this anymore if they're not really going to?" That's not the quote, but in essence, the sense that I got is, "Why do I need to keep doing this if I'm not going to be paid what I'm promised?" And the UFC is like, "No, you got paid what you were promised."
Yeah, no, it's a tough, it's a real, rock and a hard place. I even heard someone that has worked with his camp, who is his coach. Eddie Bravo, talk about it in the sense that obviously when you've had a good faith, if you're fighting for 10-10 or 15-15, and you show and whatever, and your opponent doesn't, they give you your show because it's a lot easier. It's also the right thing to do, I think. But it's a little different when you're fighting for $100,000. It's a little different when you're fighting for $200,000 for a show. It's really hard for them to justify giving you $150,000, $100,000, when, even though you did your job. So the miscommunication, it should be plain and simple. But again, if he was getting points from that, if there were different add-on incentives, there you go, to be a part of it. Struggling here. Clearly, I also have been hit in the head as well. But the point being, I don't know the bare bones or the full aspect of the contract. But if they promise his show, he should get his show. But I think there might be a case of, obviously, when you fight on it, you're attached to certain pay-per-view points and blah blah blah. But at the same time, it probably won't do that, because that was the fight that most people wanted to see.
Yep, I concur. The fight I wanted to see was Misha Cirkunov against Shogun. Shogun emerges victorious. I'd love to see that fight, but the UFC has decided to pit Misha Cirkunov against Volkan Ozdemir, who came into the UFC unheralded and defeats, I think it was OSP, and out of nowhere, he's a bad man, and now he's fighting Misha at UFC Fight Night 109 in Stockholm, Sweden, the same card with Alexander Gustafsson and Glover Teixeira. You like this fight for Misha?
Yeah, no, it obviously it doesn't have the same ramifications, but at the same time, it's a game opponent who beat someone very, very, very interesting, and he's coming back. He's going to be in the place in Europe where I think he belongs in regards to a market. I think there's a huge market there for Misha in general, being so close to Russia and whatnot. But I'm just happy he's in the UFC, to be plain and simple.
Yeah, he detailed his difficulties with the conversation with Dana White and the UFC matchmaking team, and he's glad that it got taken care of. He manages himself, right? He doesn't have a manager that does all this negotiation for him, which I get it, but I'm like, you should have someone just kind of take care of your career, dude.
Yes, just as someone that also knows Misha too, I think his mental space would be better set if they do have an interesting dynamic with being him and his wife. So there is a little bit of that bouncing back and forth. And especially with 205, he's got a huge opportunity. I don't know, again, there's a huge opportunity with local sponsors and local communication, and who better to sell yourself than yourself, especially in the niche market that has kind of broken itself off of. I know many different little businesses around here that, give a little bit to Misha, and he shows a little love back in his own way. So, yes, but he's still in the UFC, and he's presumably got more money than what they offered.
Well, speaking of money, California State Athletic Commission is proposing a fine to discourage fighters, a bigger fine to discourage fighters from missing weight. Not only 20% of your show money, but if you win, 20% of your bonus. That's 40% off of payday if you do not make weight. The vote will be happening this week. Do you like this?
As someone that always made weight, fuck yeah.
It's all about being professional. Am I correct?
Yeah, 100%. I even heard something Joe Rogan said at one point where it almost should just be a loss. I would even be cool if you don't show up during weight, barring, if your kidneys, if it showed all of a sudden your kidney stopped working and blah, 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 blah. But if it also shows you've been eating tiramisu and you're embedded, you're done fucked up. You're done fucked up. But like, again, the body rejects it. Like there's, even with short-term fights, I don't think there is too much blame that should be put on the person that takes a fight on 2 weeks notice. I think there should be like an, situational thing. And even women, they almost should have their own aspect too, because with females, it's a lot harder to cut weight. And whether you like it or not, certain parts of the month, your body looks at you and nothing more than a baby making machine, and it will not get rid of water. So there are inherent extra dangers in regards to females. But like you said, if you're going to be a professional, you should be making weight.
Cain Velasquez posted a message to his fans that he doesn't have a definitive timeline for his return. Back surgery went well in January. He's been low-key for a couple of months, but he wants to come back, but he wants to come back healthy. I legit feel sorry for the guy, because he's got a body that just simply will not take the rigors of the training that most guys can handle. Not that he can't handle it, his body can't handle it. But there's no timeline for his return. Are you surprised by him posting this message, or is it simply, just keep up with your fans, man. Let your fans know what's going on.
Well, it also keeps into the whole narrative of why he was at the presser for the Fighters Association and in general. I think he's an example of someone that's tougher than, like you said, too tough for his own good, and has had countless surgeries. If only he did not say that he was getting the surgery until afterwards, he would have been able to at least get the show money from this last supposed bout that was supposed to happen, proposed bout rather. So it's unfortunate that he's gone on a win, right? He won his last one. Has he fought since? I can't remember. When was his last time he fought? I'm going brain dead now, because that's how long it's been.
2009.
That was his last fight?
I'm joking. It's not...
Oh my God. I'm like, that's 6 years ago. Wait, what the hell?
That's what it feels like. It's just, he wins, and then, I think it was Travis Brown was the last guy he defeated, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And then, he gets injured. He's supposed to have the rematch with Verdum. Didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and he seems, by all accounts, he seems like a sweetheart. So you want nothing but the best for him. But he's sitting out and taking time. And there's also a huge opportunity. I think he's only like, what, 35?
Young guy, not old.
Yep. So he can take his sweet ass time and fight a couple more times over the course, of 5 years, really. Heavyweights, what the fuck? So you just hope that, I think in reality, he could fight once a year. That he's doing,
he's pretty much averaging that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's pretty much doing anyways. Just fight and be like, okay, let's heal this up, do a little bit of training, whatever. He's had the mat time as an athlete through his whole life. So, and just, build his body up, destroy it, unfortunately, and then do it all over again.
The back and forth battle. This is why I like doing this podcast, and you and I are not in the same room, because I might have a sense.
Sexual tension.
Good point. Touche. I don't want you to slap me or punch me if I bring up the name Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather again. But this might happen, Elias, in June, because Mayweather now is picking up the pace, and he's saying, "Hey, Conor, sign on the dotted line. Blah 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 blah. I'm the A side. You're the B side.
A side, B side. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And it's just kind of like, hey, wait a second, man. This is. Oh my God, this might actually happen. Like, for real?
Unicorns do exist, my friend. We're gonna get the ultimate freak show. Again, I appreciate all the A side, B side, but at the same time, I would say that Conor is the bigger, not bigger, because obviously Floyd is more in culture, because boxing is a bigger, even with its downturn, it's still a bigger sphere in regards to culture than mixed martial arts is. You can obviously argue that Conor is bigger than UFC in some ways, because even some people that don't know what really UFC is, sorry. I don't know what that was. Involuntary. But no, the point I'm trying to say is, yeah, no, it could be an exciting thing where, the freak show that will still make Floyd relevant, get his hand raised, and then there you go, 2 for 2.
On fire. On fire.
I might have a stroke soon. But the point that I'm trying to say is,
knock on wood. Knock on wood. Oh, there you go. Good.
The point I'm trying to build is beating that Rocky Marciano 49-0 record for the ultimate 5-0 or 5-0. But what if this crazy world, this fight happens, and Conor McGregor knocks him out?
It's a puncher's chance. May not happen.
Yep.
But it can happen.
I think it's more than a puncher's chance, in the sense that Floyd has had trouble with some southpaws in the past. He's obviously older. He's had some time away from the fights. It's really, yes. It's literally a puncher's chance, and that puncher has full belief in himself. So that's, I think, the difference.
Yeah, listen, take nothing away from Floyd. I'm actually a fan of Floyd Mayweather, despite his stupidness that he's done outside of the ring. I just like the way he fights. I like the way he does fight. People don't like defensive fighters. I have no problem with it. But man, Conor McGregor beating him would be just something else. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Conor McGregor in person yet. I'm a fan of what he does. I'm kind of losing interest in what he shows on Instagram and stuff like that online. And I guess I'm getting sick of it. But I like his marketability. I think he's smart. I think he's very intelligent, and I get it. But man, if he can pull this off, first of all, if this fight actually takes place, it is officially a game changer for the Ultimate Fighting Championship and mixed martial arts in general, because anyone and everyone can do it then.
Yep. Everyone just needs to get their boxing license in reality, because then you fall under the Muhammad Ali Act if you have what's called a visa.
Yeah. So I mean,
and I think even otherwise.
Well, yeah, and that's the only sticky point.
Conor McGregor, inadvertently, Conor McGregor can do more for fighters than any association has, just by looking out for Conor McGregor.
Yeah. That's the thing, and George was saying the same thing when I had him at the Gentleman's Expo. There's some changes that can be made, and if done correctly. And George, by the way, did say he's still part of the Mixed Martial Arts Fighters Association, despite him competing against Michael Bisping, because he still wants to make changes and wants to leave the sport eventually, having changed what's happened in mixed martial arts. So kudos to George. Before we let you go, there is actually
George goes the world, as goes George. Does go MMA. So
funny how USADA came in after George said, "I'm done with the sport," and no one knew why he truly left. There's an actual card this weekend, but it's happening overseas. Jimmy Manoa in the light heavyweight division will be main eventing against Corey Anderson. Gunnar Nelson taking on Alan Joben, a fellow handsome individual who likes to model like yourself. A good guy, good fighter, crazy ass striker, but I don't know if he wants to be on the ground with Gunnar Nelson. Brad Pickett's final goodbye taking on Marlon Vera, and Arnold Allen taking on Makwan Amirkhani. I like this. I don't mind this event. It's not going to get a lot of play, but Jesus, Jimmy Manoa, if he decides to hurt you, woo, you're in big trouble.
No, it's very true. No, through and through, there's a lot of great fights that I think that are going down. Arnold's one of the Tricera homies, so I'm really excited to see his hand raised. He's got a tough test in front of him, but I think he's very, very cerebral, very, very he's game. He's game to fight, and he's very smart in the cage. I think he has quite a bit of fighter IQ in the gym, and I'm looking forward to, like I said, seeing his hand raised. Then you have also you have my fellow, handsome ambassador, like you talked about it. The ground will be lava with Gunnar Nelson, but I think there's been ways that Gunnar has been showed. He still has holes in some of his overall game. There's ability to finish him, not finish him, ability to stuff him. Obviously, Damian Maia did it in a different way, but I think those same things prove true. I think it was Story that beat him in regards to with his hands and some wrestling, counter wrestling and stuff like that. So I think that's the direction that, not necessarily wrestling, but the ground is lava.
All right, before we let you go, when you see a guy like Alan Jouban compete, like I said, a fellow handsome individual like yourself, it's the whole model thing. It's the whole, hey, I got to be in front of the camera. Hey, hashtag per plus, hashtag main event. Yes, when you watch him compete, do you look at him and say, oh my God, don't hit him in the face? Or, I don't care, hit him in the face. I want to be the best looking guy in MMA.
No, I don't want to see his beautiful face destroyed. I just feel like, no, something that beautiful should remain. There's that scene in Fight Club where he ends up beating up the one guy, I can't remember his name, but he's like, I wanted to destroy something beautiful. Not the case. I'm really looking forward to seeing Alan's Bane's hand raised and getting that W. And not necessarily hostile territory, because obviously Gunnar's from Iceland, but Europe in general is definitely his neck of the woods. So I would like to see him play spoiler, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a great fight regardless.
The bad news is I missed you while I was gone on vacation. The good news is I got to talk to you today. The bad news is probably going to be a week before I see your beautiful face again, unless I'm following Elias Theodorou on Instagram and on social media. Before we let you go, sir, what is going on with you over the next 7 days?
The next 7 days, I'm on a plane tomorrow to go to Calgary, where I'll be reprising my role as commentator for Hard Knocks 54. They're going to have a really cool theme for I was going to say Thanksgiving, but it's actually St. Patrick's Day. They even have a couple of guys from Ireland flying out that are going to be fighting throughout the card, and then there's stack cards. So I'm really excited to be a part of it, and I think moving forward, I run off to Montreal as well. So you'll be either seeing me in Calgary or Montreal, but definitely somewhere different.
He's a globetrotter, ladies and gentlemen. Elias Theodorou. Make sure you do follow him online via social media at Elias Theodorou. Follow yours truly at Showdown Joe. And, of course, for all your mixed martial arts news, FightfulMMA.com. Tomorrow, I'll be joined by Earmuffs himself, or you need to wear earmuffs, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Pearson. It'll likely be at 9 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you join us, because I haven't talked to Sean in over a week, and who knows how pissed off he's going to be with the world of mixed martial arts. Till then, thank you to those who tuned in right now, and to those that are tuning in later on Stitcher and on iTunes and on YouTube. We thank you as well. Ciao for now.
Bye.